Welcome. Today we're reviewing Luxa Polish's new art brush. This is specifically number 5, which is the Ombre brush. So first glance at this, first impression, this is different than other ombre brushes. This is not as hard of a line. It's more, I'm going to say, feathery looking, and I love the design. I also love the cap that comes with it to keep it good for a long time. So let's do it. I'm going to use Luxa for it. These two are glow in the dark because I thought that would be really fun. And then I'm grabbing Flash and Hard Candy to also play with ombreing. I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute as to why I chose those. So I have a pad with alcohol on it, and then I have a dry one, mostly so I can wipe off the brush as I work, because you don't want it to get gummed up. You want it to stay fluffy when you're ombreing. A trick I learned from Leah, the owner of Luxa, is normally we grip down on our brush. When you're going to ombre, let me show you. You actually want to grip backwards on your brush so that you can feather, because when you're close, you almost put too much pressure. So we're going to scoot back and we're going to feather. And then she uses this phrase of like pat and pull, pat and pull, pat and pull, where you kind of pat down and pull towards you really lightheartedly and then work your way down the nail. So let's give this a shot. Okay, kind of rule of thumb with ombreing is you want the darker color by the cuticle because it's going to pull down towards the tip, and it seems to work well. I don't know which one's darker between these two colors. They're kind of the same level. So we'll just start with the pink at the cuticle. In theory, I know this is not a human nail. Okay, ignore, by the way, the sticky behind this. It just makes the nail easier to ombre when you use one that is a little bit longer, and I thought it would show better. So notice how thin I laid that. Also notice if you put it to here, it's gonna fade down even further. Your color by your cuticle is gonna pull further down. Second color, butts right up to that color and lay it thin, 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 thin. When I first started ombres, I always laid them too thick, and it always makes it worse, and it doesn't work. Okay, let's pat and pull. You go across the nail in a line and you start a little above where you want your ombre to be or where they meet. So I'm scooting my hand back, patting and pulling, stepping down a level, patting and pulling, stepping down a level, patting and pulling. Oh my gosh, this is literally the first time I've used this brush and I am in love. Okay, a little bit of buildup on there. You don't want your bristles sticking together. Wipe it off. It's still wet. I'm just going over and patting and pulling down the nail one more time. Now these two colors actually have that same kind of finish, that same kind of consistency. So that is also key in picking something to ombre. It's more detailed kind of than that, but it will work really easily. So first coat, we're gonna cure this. We're gonna do a second coat after we cure it. In between, I'm going to really wipe my brush off, make sure it's dry, make sure it's fluffy to continue working. I really like that. It's like dense next to the crimp and then really feathers out. Even though it looks kind of like the bristles are a little messy, I'm now starting to feel and see as to why it's that way. Very different than any other ombre brush I've used. Okay. Again, little reminder, if you don't lay this thin, you're making life harder on yourself. You are gooping up your ombre brush. Keep it as thin as you can. And then let's go for this one more time. Grip back, not close, scoot back. There we go. And then we're gonna pat and pull across almost in a line. And then pat and pull, as Leah, the owner, says, and step down, pat, pull, pat, pull. And you can see kind of how that fluffier, more feathered bristle actually helps blend the product and keep walking all the way down. You guys, I'm wiping off here. I'm impressed. I'm hands down impressed with this ombre brush. I think I may no longer dread it when a client asks for it. I'll just be really honest. I used to do a lot of sponging for it, which has been one of my favorite ways, but you can sometimes see like almost like the air bubbles from sponging. So that is seamless. Wiping my brush off. Now, little trick, you can take these baby light feathers and anywhere you see a line going vertically, break it up lightly horizontally, just so lightly, like barely touching it. Just barely come across it horizontally to help really blend that to a seamless finish. Okay, I'm impressed. Take a look. This is not cured yet. Here we go, a little closer. Really digging this. We're gonna cure this 30 seconds LED, and then we're gonna put a shine top coat on it. This is Luxa Shine. I use this like crazy. It's actually very stain resistant and stays really shiny, and it is a no wipe. So I already use this of Luxa's, and you should too. I'm gonna cure that. and then we will get started on the other one. But I'm impressed. I'm impressed with this number 5 ombre brush. Okay, notice the third color I added. Here's the reason. I wanted to show the in-between colors you can make. So you've got to be aware of what colors made in between. So you got to have some color theory when you're ombreing so you don't create mud. Okay, I'm going to start with the pink at the cuticle, making sure my brush is nice and clean. I'm going to do a little acetone and wipe it off because I did a previous ombre, and fluff it out. Make sure it's very dry before you get going with this. We do not use alcohol with this brush. No need. My hard candy color is brand new, so it's going to be a little trickier to lay thin. I might have to wipe some product off here, but I'm down. Let's wipe it. There we go. I'm only going to bring it down maybe just past 1/4 of the nail length because I know the pink's going to carry down further. And truly, I like the consistency or the finish of this color, and it's very similar to the Mandarin Dreams, the orange we're going to put on next. The reason I grabbed Flash though is Flash is a little more creamy and opaque of a finish or a consistency, which means it would be harder to ombre from one that isn't the same consistency or the same finish. So I am kind of making life harder for myself right here in front of everybody that watches for the first time, but it will really test out this brush, and I feel like that's a valid thing. We just got to test it out. So I buttered them all up. I laid them really thin. Let's pat and pull. We're gonna go across that line just a little above it and then start pulling down. And I can see already how this could actually work really quickly on a client. Like in the salon, I mean, look at that. Look at that pink and that orange is almost blended already. Now you're gonna start seeing why using different consistencies can be hard. You see those lines you see? Wipe that off. Flash also with this little bit heavier consistency. I'm gonna think heavier is a word. It's gonna gum up my brush more. So I might end up wiping more. Oh, but hey, I'm not too mad about this. This brush might work perfectly with these colors that are typically harder to ombre. Okay, I'm on board. Let's keep going here. Oh, I have a fuzzy on the end. That will just ruin the ombre anyway. So let's win the more and get it off. Maybe put it over here. Okay, still wet. I'm going to take one more pass. So I like to do really thin coats, butt them up against each other, start at the top, always work your way down. Do not go back up. You need to pull down, and take a second pass before you cure it. Always remember you want your brush fluffy and feathery, so wipe it up if it gets too goopy. Those lines are starting to blend more. I'm going to go in and do a little shorter, take a little more time on my patting and pulling where I have that thicker consistency. And hey, it's coming together. All right. I mean, we're going to follow through to the end here, but I might be sold on this brush. I truly, when I was told it's a different kind of ombre brush, I was like, but how different can it be? It's different, you guys. It feels different. Like, look, I don't hate life right now. Let's just, even on this first coat, let's just pull some horizontal lightly across those vertical lines, just where it's harder to blend to that thicker, to that thicker flash. Okay. Not really mad about this. Kind of a happy camper. So you can see where in the salon you would need to charge more for this. I mean, you can spend hours and hours. You could take a $300-$400 class on ombraying. I would absolutely support you on that, but I would bring this brush with you. Looks pretty good. Let's cure it and let's go again. I sped this up even more, you guys, just because I feel like you might not want to hang out with me all day, all the long day, but maybe you do. I don't know. But keep it thin, and let's see how well we can blend again to that very, very tip. So brush is clean, everything's out of my way, back towards the end. Oh yeah, it's actually really fun to watch in fast motion. Now I'm really enjoying this. Okay, let's see once we hit this. Yeah, follow through all the way down. Notice that I'm not like, oh crap, and going back up. Wipe your brush off. You can start back at the top and just, the whole point of an ombre is it bleeds from one to the other. So don't panic. I feel like my biggest tip here is at this point, buy this brush and drop your shoulders and breathe and pat and pull, pat and pull, pat and pull towards you. Pat and pull towards you, wipe. Pat and pull towards you, wipe. Take a step down, pat and pull. Go across, take a step down closer to you, wipe, come across. I'm wiping more with this flash. Hands down I am. It's just, it gets things a little more, it makes the bristles stick together more, and I want to keep it fluffy. And I may have put too thick of a coat on there. Okay, I'm going to pull a little horizontally, light touch. And the beauty here is only a few bristles are touching these little lines that I'm seeing that I'm breaking up because of the design of the brush. It's not like the whole brush wipes off everything I've just worked on right there. A traditional ombre brush, it would just wipe it off, because I'll tell you right now, I tried it and it did it. I've done it for years. I've tried to adjust former ombre brushes, never turned out right. This is pretty damn cool. Okay, so fussing and playing now just because I'm having a heyday and I want this to look perfection and really such a cool thing. So depending on how long the nail is, right? Like if somebody's wearing really, really short nails, you wouldn't want to ombre 3 colors, but 2 maybe. And I'm going to tell you, baby boomer or frambre or French ombre, whatever you want to call it, that's going to come at you guys. I've got to make a video because with this brush, it might be life. You guys, it's like seamless. I've got to cure this and we've got to top coat it here. So let's see. I'm going to clean up and put some acetone on my brush in between. This is like brush care stuff. I'm wiping it off. I'm going to get it all dry and fluffy, and then I'm going to cap this so that I can keep it and keep it for a very long time under lock and key and protected forever because I love it. Okay, we're going to do the matte top coat on this awesome 3-colored nail. And it'll give you a little sneak peek here because it goes matte once it cures. So you'll be able to see what this would look like shiny right here. It's just so amazing to look at. And it's smooth too. It doesn't have like a thick, like sometimes when I've done it before, there's like thickness between the colors. Anyway, while that is curing, look at these colors we used. Let's recap, okay? Number 1, get this brush. This is an official review of a 10 out of 10. I'm so impressed. I really didn't believe it till I used it. This is only the first time I've touched it. You have seen it for the first time. So I'm sure as I continue to play with it, it will be my holy grail of ombres. And then pick colors that have same consistencies to them, and highly pigmented colors really help. And lay it thin and keep working it. Oh, I hope you enjoyed this. I will make sure a link is available to you. My discount code with Luxa is HDH10. I will put that below. This number 5 ombre brush is a 10 out of 10 for me. If you're joining on YouTube, link will be before. And if you're joining me on Instagram, the link is in my bio. Hey, have a fantastic day. I appreciate all of your support.